bridging gaps. Remember, I did say Unheard series is all about bridging gaps between the personnels and their followers, right? Today's guest is, guys, I need tissue. Oh, I need tissue because this is personal. Today's guest is one of the most amazing individuals you'll ever meet if you interact with him. And it's good that today you get an opportunity to sit here and be under his voice and listen to what he's going to tell you. He is the creative director of Paperback Africa. Paperback Africa being the organizers and organizers of this event, right? He's the creative director of Paperback Africa. He's a media practitioner. He's a fashion facilitator. He is, I wish I could say I was dressed by him. You know, he would have done the same. He's a fashion facilitator. He's on Forbes 30 under 30. Y'all know Forbes. You know, there's that song that, I don't know who sang it, but the person said, I want to be on the cover of Forbes magazine. You know? Yes. He's on Forbes 30 under 30. He sits on several boards in Zimbabwe. I hope I didn't leave anything. But before I call upon our guest for today, he's a brother. He's a friend. He's a content creator also. Like, guys, this guy is just amazing. Words cannot express how powerful he is and his journey. The most beautiful thing about today's guest is his journey in the industry, right? Please help me welcome Gilmore Tee. Yeah. Give it up for Gilmore. Aren't they looking lovely? How are you? I said, aren't they looking lovely? Why are y'all jealous? Okay, so this is Gilmore Tee and Vusi Pepe. Thank you so much for coming to Unheard series. And Vusi is going to be our moderator for today. Thank you. Let's listen and watch.
Can these come and sit?
Thank you, Dee. You are so kind. I've never heard myself described in so many words before. So beautiful words, that is. Thank you so much. I feel honored and chuffed to be able to talk to Gilmore and expose you to the world.
Talk all the time.
I know, but I get to grill you and ask you questions that sometimes I've always wanted to ask you, but maybe never had the opportunity or the words to ask you because you're such a larger-than-life figure. I think you don't know it, but when you are among us, you're so humble that we forget the role that you play in our community. So today I get to ask you those questions. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here and for joining us as we find out and unveil Gilmore Tee, fabric by fabric, until we get to the core of who he is. Unti has already said what Gilmore does professionally. He's a content creator, creative director of Paperback Africa, PR consultant, fashion facilitator, media practitioner. He's in the Forbes under 30 class of 2019, Mandela Washington Fellow, TV host. You are licensee to MTV Sugar. Yes, you've produced radio for Cliff Central. You do a lot of things. Where do you get the energy? Is that where the tea in Gilmore Tee comes from?
First of all, guys, thank you so much for coming. It's incredible to see so many people. I think where I get the energy from is everything that I feel I'm passionate about, everything that I like doing. I'm going to make time for it. So growing up, I've always liked talking a lot. I've always liked creating stuff. I've always liked writing and painting. So people don't know that I do paint. I've done a few things for the British Council. So everything that I know I'm good at and I enjoy doing, I make time for it.
I read somewhere that growing up you wanted to be a dermatologist and a pilot. How do you shift from skincare and flying to the arts and the media?
You know, I never even knew what a dermatologist. I didn't know it was called a dermatologist. So growing up, I wanted to be a skin doctor. So my mom had skin issues when she was when we were growing up, and me seeing that all the time, I thought, oh, you know what? I want to be a solution to this problem. So I was like, I want to be a skin doctor. I want to be a skin doctor, and only later on, A-level, and then I found out, oh, it's called a dermatologist. But all the time I would say, I want to be a skin doctor. And then I think along the way also, I dumped that, and then I was like, I want to be a pilot. because I thought I was just fascinated by, the flights and everything else. But I think God is an amazing way of being humorous. He will make you travel instead of you making sure that everyone gets to a place safe. But it will actually make you a passenger, so you're sort of like being chauffeured in the air. So I'm so grateful for that. And how I got to where I am, again, it goes back to the fact that I think I knew that I wanted to work in the creative industry somehow, somewhere. Because I remember in grade 6, there was like a school competition to paint and do stuff. And then I painted something, and my painting was picked as like one of the best from the school, and it was exhibited at the National Gallery, where I have an office now. So it's so weird because I was introduced to the gallery when I was in grade 6. And then ever since then, I always knew that I wanted to work in that space. I wanted to work in a space that allows me to create stuff. I wanted to work in a space that allowed me to fully express myself, basically. And also just allow people to interpret things in a different way. Because I would have my own interpretation when possibly I write something. But when someone reads it, it hits them in a different way. So I always wanted to do that.
But isn't it so Zimbabwean and so global? And parents will want you to be a doctor and be a pilot, but here you are doing things that growing up didn't have a name to them in terms of wanting to get into those careers. Like, I never knew there's something like content creation, like curating, like being a PR consultant. How did you then formulate those positions for yourself to say, this is what I'm going to become, and maybe the first of your kind in the city that young people can then look up to and say, I want to do what Gilmour does?
Yeah. The funny thing, when I was like doing my A-level, I was doing accounting, business management, and economics. So obviously, because that was like my mother directing me to say, you know what, you need to do this, because I was raised by my mom and other 3 siblings. And she kept saying, you guys need to do something tangible. My brother is an engineer. My other brother is a media practitioner, funny enough. My sister is into marketing. So they were always pushing me that way. But I think they realized everything is when I was in high school. Because I was good at doing accounting. Like, I was good at it. I was good at business management. But I never wanted to live off it because I never enjoyed doing it. I was good at it, but never enjoyed it. So now moving to the space where you're saying, how do you find names? I think there's already other people that have created, the path for us. So when I was getting into things like content creation, I already knew of 1 or 2 people. I knew that there was people like Raised on Baya. He creates content through a festival. Simon Mambazo does the same thing. There's quite a few people that somewhere they create content, and it's just that it was never pinpointed to say, this is content creation. It was just like, we organize my events, or we organize a festival, but that is creating content for the city and for the people in the industry. So I think the wording came later on, but there were already people that were doing that, and I was like, I want to be like those people, because I like the way that they used the creative industry to express themselves and to allow others to express themselves.
How important is that to have people to look up to? Because when you talk about Raised Donbaya or Mambazo, they've been there for decades now, and
they're ancient now.
yes, and to think that you say you saw what they did and you looked up to them. How important is it for us to have people to look up to as we?
It's important to have people to look up to, but family also is very much important in shaping someone's dream. Because if, for me in general, I've seen how my family in general would say, oh, you want to do this? Okay, do it, as long as when you're doing whatever that you're doing. So I think it starts off at home. If your family is not supportive, then you can be a rebellious kid, but then you want that support from the family.
Let's talk about that, your family.
Yeah.
How big have they been in shaping who you are?
They just think I'm a rebellious kid, basically. I think growing up, my mom knows that, this one is going to be okay. So I'm that kid that they know what to know, this one is going to be okay. So every now and again, okay, let me take you back to primary school. So there's a time I wrote my writing, and now how I'm writing, it started off in primary school. So I used to write a lot of compositions, and there's a time I wrote a composition about my mom. They said you should write about your mom or your father. So I couldn't write about my father because he's late, and the person was like 3 years old. And then so I had to write about my mom. And then when my mom comes through to pick me up from school, Emma Ketendapa, my teacher, Mrs. Kobo, says, go to Bela Pamanyati. And then I thought, I'm in trouble, because I was always in trouble. But my best friend was the head boy. so he always covered for me when I was in primary school. And then she calls my mom, and she says to my mom, you should actually help Gilmour grow this because Gilmour is so good at writing. He's like one of our best students. Even in high school, I went on to being the best student at writing and in English, basically, because Kuniski was so. So then my mother realized that this is something that there's things that I was good at because my teachers would constantly ask her to come through and tell her, yo, he's good at this, he's good at that. So she sort of like then pushed that. She pushed that somehow, somewhere. And she knew that I was not one person to put in a box. She always knew whatever that he does, she would be there to listen, to say, okay, let's hear. She's like a friend of mine. So she's a friend, actually. So she'll be like, okay, let me listen to what he has to say now. But then the question is always, how are you going to sustain yourself? How are you going to make money from what you want to do? How are you going to become whoever in this space? And then if I had answers for those questions, she'll be like, okay, cool. So go ahead and do it.
So your mother is the drive behind
my mom
you getting to where you are.
Pushing. Yeah, my mom has just been like, you know what, you're good at this, go do it. Aren't you very this accounting, but I often come bank. So, and you don't want to study that. Also at NAST, I never studied that. Then she was like, okay, as long as you're going to excel in what you're doing, go for it.
So what does that say about the role parents have to say in general, and then most importantly, mothers? You know how single mothers, they get a raw deal a lot in society. Yeah. They are given names. But seeing your mother and the influence she's had on you, what would you say about the role mothers have?
I don't even think it's just mothers. I think it's even the fathers and the sisters and brothers. It's the things that you say to your kid, the things that you say about your kid is important because the kids, when you're saying it to them, they are listening to you saying it. When you say it about them, talking to someone else, they are listening to you. It's the same thing I see in my nephew, my sister's son. Things I would say to him, bra, when you blind, this boy plays cricket, he's in grade 5, and he plays cricket for the first team at Camel. Even when there was the Cricket World Cup qualifiers, we took him there. So I realized, you know what, when we were growing up, if my colleagues had such influence, like that, what we're giving to my nephew now, we could be better people possibly. But then it doesn't mean also we're bad people now. We just would do better if our community back then would sort of like encourage us and speak good things to us and guide us and tell us that we're good at what we do. We are the best. Like the American system. You know, the American system, the kids, you think they're arrogant, but they're not arrogant. Their system just basically tells them that they're the best thing ever. No one else is better than. That's why there's an American dream. Is there a Zimbabwean dream? I don't know. But there's an American dream because it's already in the system. It started from home, now it's in the system. So I think the people you have around you play a huge role, especially with the kids. People around you play a huge role in building a kid up.
And so you did commercials, you did banking, accounting, and here you are doing the arts and in the media and creative sector. Yeah. Someone is out there asking, you spend 4 or 5 years studying something, and then you switch, you go into something different. I know dozens of people that are at university doing things that they do not love, simply because their points at A level pointed them to that direction. How do you take a bold step to switch from what you've been taught to do to something that you love to do?
So with me, I actually never went to university to doing anything with marketing or banking or accounting. So A-level, that's what I was studying, and I was super good at that. But then I took about 2 years before I even went to the next step to take on my education. Because I realized that I enjoy doing these things. I mean, I'm good at doing accounting and business management and all these economics things, but it's not something that I want to do for the rest of my life. And I think that there was a lot of like friction within the families when I said, I don't want to do that. So while I was waiting for the 2 years, I went on to do my French studies, and I got my higher diploma in French, and then je parle français.
Thank you, Gilmour, for exposing my ignorance.
And then I went on then when I was now doing French, then I got an opportunity to work for the Alliance Française for 4 years. So it's when I was at the Alliance Française that I said, you know what, I want to do development studies. So it's complicated, like my life is complicated. So I went on to do development studies at NAST. It took me 3 years to finish that program because I was always like, moving it forward. I was never around. And got exposed a lot into the NGO sector because Alliance Française for 4 years, then I left Alliance Française, went to work for Action Aid in Senegal, and then stayed in Senegal for a year. And then it's when I was in Senegal that I made a decision that I want to work in the creative space because already at Alliance Française you get exposed to artists. Artists come to you, fashion designers especially, how I'm in fashion now is fashion designers would come to me and ask me a lot of questions. First of all, I work for a French institution. Everyone wants to go to Paris for fashion. and they think you are sort of like a link to that because I was a programs coordinator. And then again, it takes time for you to step back and say, okay, why is that everyone keeps coming to me and saying this? And sometimes people help you shape what you're supposed to do. So I realized, oh, maybe I have some sort of like, I can be a bridge, which is what I'm doing now is exactly what people would sort of like see in me, where they'll come and say, but I want to go showcase in Paris, in France. Or someone will say, oh, I want to go perform, especially at Alliance Française, artists would come a lot. And then that's when I realized, you know what, maybe my purpose is actually being a bridge and a connector. It's exactly what I'm doing right now. And so it's then left Alliance Française, the Senegal. Then when I was in Senegal, what made me then go full on in the creative space is already I'd fallen in love with Alliance Française, with the creative industry. And I was very much fascinated with the amazing talent that Zimbabweans had rather. But at the same time, I felt there was lack of how people put themselves together. Because when the creatives come to you with Alliance Française, they'll just bring stuff like a CD. And then you're like, okay, can you give me your portfolio? What is a portfolio? Can you give me a profile? Oh, where do I start? Give me your bio. And they didn't know these things. And then I saw a gap, which is what we do at Paperback Africa now. It's exactly what I saw when I was at Alliance Française. Fast forward to Action Aid. What made me change my mind, say, I don't want to work in the NGO space. One of my superiors said to me when I was asking for money, because I was in charge of a section called SOCON in Kaulak, and I was asking for money to like do some M&E, monitoring and evaluation projects. And then she said, no, we don't have a budget. I'm like, but you have a budget for World AIDS Day, you have a budget for all these commemorations, but we want a budget for us to empower the community fully. And then she says to me, which I think was life-changing, you realize that if we fully empower these people, you won't have a job. And she says these people, and these are her people. She's Senegalese, and she's saying if we fully empower these people, you won't have a job. And then I was like, then what's the purpose of us working in the NGO? I don't know if NGOs are actually sustainable. But anyway, that's a story for another day. And then she says, no, we can give you money for certain things, but not some of the things that you want. Then it's only when I came back, I was like, I don't want to work in this space. So I'm going to use the education that I got in development studies to develop the creative industry and make it sustainable. So which is exactly what I aim to do every time I do a project. I always ask myself, what change are we bringing when we're doing an EU film festival? What change are we bringing when we're doing the Pichani? What change are we doing when we're doing something with the National Gallery? And how are we sustaining people that survive and exist in those industries?
You talk about doing things that you are good at versus things that you love. What's the difference, and how can someone, you know, the thin line, walk that thin line?
I'm doing things that I love.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing things that I love.
But you're really good at them as well,
yes.
So yeah.
I realized I love doing it, but then I also took time to sort of doing some research. Because I feel what we lack in the creative industry is research. We don't research in the space that we operate within. So if someone is a fashion designer, they just think, oh, I'm so talented, so that's it. But no, why don't you do some research to say, okay, how can I grow my brand? How can I be authentic to the space I come from? How can I influence the world? What's so different and unique about what I'm practicing? So for me, I always take time to research, to even study. And also, I befriend people that are within that space. Like I'm friends with Simon Mampaso. Because I realized, oh, this guy has been here for a long time. Mm-hmm. So I sort of like try to go there. Maybe we're calling on his trial. I said, that's something for lunch. He's taking his trial. And then so on, or whatever. But then I make sure that I study the area that I want to get into, that I know I'm going to exceed. But also I need to study the people that are operating within that space and see how they've been doing it. I befriend them so that they can share their knowledge if they are willing to share, because some people are not willing to share. And then it's only then how I'm growing, and I'm so good at what I do, even though I say so myself.
So the networks are important.
Networks are very important.
Tell us about Hona Agency and how that became Paperback Africa, and now you're doing Pichani as well.
Yeah, it's under Paperback.
All these projects that you're running now.
I started Hona when I was at Alliance Française. So it was an underground thing. My boss never knew that I was actually doing, I had like a company that I registered and I was pushing it because I was still working for the Alliance Française, so I had things that I had to observe. So why I started Huna, which is now Paperback Africa, in 2013, it's the same thing that I was saying. Every time I was interacting with artists, most of them would come through and they're so talented, but they have no idea of how to put themselves together. You say, music, music. But I'm like, but you just made, do you have it on flash? Do you have it on CD? They don't have. Profile yako. And then they'll say, I can tell you, but I do not have anything typed out. So when I started Huna, it was initially to help do PR and branding for the creative industry, because I would interact with a lot of people that didn't know how to put themselves across. They were so talented, but sometimes your talent itself won't do much. You need to be able to put it forward. That's why a lot of people now, musicians, are investing in social media, in pictures, in the way they look when they're going to functions, in the way they even have people coaching them on how to speak. So a lot of people lacked that. And then I registered Huna, and then I started helping a few people. I think I started off with Ojembe Monks, Mboma Hawks, Arakani. Those were the first people I started working with. There's a guy called Shadow Bastumiso, so he won an award in Durban, I think 2 years back. Tolagele Dlamini, Langa, she used to be on Star FM. Those are the people that I started off with. Unjabulo Moyo. We started off together. And those were like friends or associates that I started saying, oh, I have this thing that I'm offering. And they became my first clients, because I wanted to just help them profile themselves and package themselves nicely. And then I think where I lost Huna is when I came back from Senegal. I realized I was failing to connect to the name Huna, because Huna is like some name from Asia, but it means talent. I was failing to connect, and I think it's important also as individuals when we are, whatever that we're doing, the naming of your company, the naming of your clothing brand, the naming of your record label, whatever that you want to do, the naming of yourself, even if you're a musician, Fish F. Ndaram. How is it connecting to who you are and what you believe in and where you go? So Huna, I lost it completely, I think, when I came back from Senegal. And then I took a step back for 2 years. And then 2017, and then I was like, you know what, I want to go back fully in this space, but I want to go with a company that when someone says it doesn't fly over my head. When someone says Paperback Africa, I'm like, hey, are you talking to me? So Paperback Africa came about because when we went to the Mandela Washington Fellow, the one that's saying, we have a standard, I'm American. It was there, I think, where it was sort of like panel beat, because I was there in 2017. And then every now and again, I would go into a certain space. People would ask me, oh, where is this from? Oh, where is your hat from? Oh, where is your suit from? Like certain things that I would wear or certain things that I would carry, even a backpack. And they'll say, oh, it's so nice. And then I thought again, maybe this is an opportunity for me for me and those back home to sort of like supply our products to the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is fascinated with how Lebo is looking or with how Bill is looking and whatever the accessories that they're wearing. So maybe it's also a market for us, or it's an opportunity for us to penetrate those spaces. So then when I came back, Paperback Africa, I remember talking to my team member, and they're like, oh no, Paperback Africa doesn't sound like a company. It sounds like some stupid thing. Charlotte, she was on to me for like 2 weeks. And then I said to her, you know what, why it's called Paperback Africa? Because when you get into a shop and you're buying food or you're buying whatever, you get in there with a paper bag, plastic bag, or whatever bag, but what you throw in that bag is of your choice. You decide to throw milk, or whatever, it's really of your choice. So what I envision is a company that has content from Africa, that manages projects in Africa, and that does PR for creatives that are within the African content. Hence, Paperback Africa. In our paperback, we've got Africa in it. That's how it came about.
Wow, sounds great. Guys, this is not just our show, so if you have questions, please put them down. I'll give you an opportunity to ask those questions. But now I want to find out about the importance of rebranding, of getting to a point where, like you're saying, you were not connecting with Huna and you decided, I have to take a step back.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when we have this passion project, we hold on to it and we end up dying with it instead of killing it and maybe rebirthing or giving birth to something fresh. How important is it to get to a point where you see, let me take a step back and reinvent it?
I think, first of all, already, if you realize that you're not connecting with Ngogwako, if you're running a project or a label and you're failing to connect, it's always important to step back. Because sometimes you don't see things from a different angle when you're within. You're thinking, okay, because this is my dream and this is what I envisioned when I started. Everything always looks perfect. It's almost like when you write something and then you don't ask someone to proofread it. When you constantly read, everything sounds okay because in your head it's okay. But when you give it to someone, they say, no, but this word is not okay. This grammar is not okay. So for me, I think in general, even if with your personal decisions or everything that you do, it's always important that you step back sometimes when you're failing to connect. Because if the moment you realize you're failing to connect, then there's a problem. So you're going to have to step aside a bit. But also when you step aside, don't step aside for a longer time. Maybe find people that, sort of like mentors, people that you can talk to, interact with. And then sometimes the decisions that we would make after come from other people. It's the influence of other people. They'll say something, you're like, actually, he's telling the truth. Why can't I do this? So when you realize you're not connecting with something that you're doing, take a step back all the time. But interact with people within that space.
It can't always have been good.
No.
What were the downsides?
The downside is when you are working in the creative industry, there's a lot of clicks. There's a lot of clicks in the creative industry. There's a lot of... You're coming in as whose son are you? Whose daughter are you? Sometimes, especially in Zim, I sit in Zimbabwe, we get into a space where there's already Ningi or Banebani, who's the daughter of this minister, or he's the son of this business person. So you're fighting with these people because you need to realize most of these people are the ones that control these things. So for me, I think one of those, that was really like the biggest challenge that I faced getting into the space. Because you're getting in there, you're excited, you're naive, you're like a child, but you don't realize that, oh, there's Busi, who's actually the one in charge of this space. There's Maniban, who's also in charge of this space. So maybe I can blame it to myself to say I didn't do enough research. But at the same time, again, those people also don't play a very good role in terms of making sure that everyone benefits. Maybe also I'm one of them now, I don't know. But for me, it was having to open doors for myself. Of course, there's certain people that have helped me open doors. I cannot lie. I mean, the restaurants I mentioned, Butolez Wenyati, Shamiso Rujizo, etc., they've helped open doors. But I realized in many cases, because I believed in something so much, I'd constantly knock on doors, and some doors would never open, and it took time for those to open. So those challenges, I think that's my biggest thing.
Is it something you're trying to change yourself to be able to open doors for other people?
Yes, and I think I have tried, because I always say, I say to my friends, if I'm your friend, there's noise. If I'm your friend and I'm doing well and you are not doing well, then there's something wrong with me as a friend. It means that I'm also not looking out for you. So most of my friends, most of the people that I have around me, she's popping, she's directing theater productions. Mboma Hawks is popping, she's on TV, she's on something Soweto's video. ASF is doing the most. The calligraphy boys that do graphics in Harare, one of them is from Bulawayo, they're doing the most. So somehow I realized, because I saw that, trying to, what's up, bro?
Stop being a content creator.
Okay. So I realized that when I was trying to get into these spaces, there was very few people that would open doors for me. So I realized what to mean because I've had opportunities and I've created networks, strong networks through my interactions and going to different spaces. I want to be that person who does that for people. And honestly speaking, I think I've done in some way, because when you see people like House of Stone, the designer, showcasing in Nigeria, that's something that I was involved in. When you see people like Omatilda doing well, it's somewhere I was involved in helping them. If I can create a platform, if I can link up to the next person, then we can do that. But obviously, you need to be very careful with the people that you link up, because when you link up, then I'm a connection now. It's true, it's true.
Okay, we'll come back to that one. I was trying to jot down all your achievements.
Yeah.
At some point, why am I even bothering? Because do you even remember the things that you've achieved?
I do. Okay, let me tell you what happens. I do, and then I celebrate it at that particular time. But I don't dwell on it for a longer time, because I realize the moment you dwell on something, I won an award. Hey, I'm a multi-award winning musician or whatever, it gets into your head and it stops you from seeing bigger. So you hit your ceiling because you concentrate so much on, I'm on Forbes 30 under 30, it's huge, it's Africa Forbes. And then what? Let's keep it moving. So most of them, I do remember, I do have like a whole lot of them, because every time you win something or you get something, you always get like a certificate or a trophy or whatever. So I do have those at home. But they're sort of like a reminder on the journey that I've been traveling and the journey I'm still traveling.
How do you stay humble? I was going to ask that.
Being Pelele, my friend.
So, you know, the things that you've achieved and the things that you still aspire to do.
I think Zimbabwe humbles you, but anyway. The people I have around me, because I'm very particular with the friends that I keep. I'm an introverted person who works within the creative space, but at the same time, I protect my personal space. So the people that I have around me, they keep me very humble, because you find that Uti, sometimes, like yesterday, I was having a conversation with Tinashe Charlson, and then I don't know what he said, which sort of like was saying to me, calm down. And I realized those people are important. Your friends are important. So if you always have friends that always say, yes, 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 then there's something wrong. Because your friends should be there to tell you when you're doing wrong. They should celebrate with you. They should cry with you. They should pray with you. And they should be there most of the time. They should be the ones who, if you achieve something, as Mawiza have a new song, they should be the ones that saying, Mawiza's song. But if you're friends and they don't do that, then there's a problem. So usually my friends, for me, keep me humble. And whenever I go home and I see my sister and my mom, I always remember that I'm a kid. Because so my family and my friends, they're always
Spirituality.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
About I'm such a spiritual being in the sense of in everything that I do, my life is a prayer, first of all. When I was like 6 months old, my mother was hospitalized for quite some time, and then my grandmother took over as a parent. So when my grandmother took over, she tells me, obviously 6 months I could not remember a single thing. She tells me they used to pray a lot for my mom, because I'm a last born. They used to pray a lot for my mom, and they used to pray a lot for me. And so from that time, I realized I'm a prayer. Like my life is a prayer. So even everything that I do, even now when we're coming here, I was like, let's pray. Because that's how I was brought up. I always believe that in everything that I do for me, God is in there. And even with my friends, if my friend don't pray for me, if I don't pray for them, then there's something wrong again. So I'm very spiritual. I'm not religious in the sense of in church. Sometimes I'm not here, so I can't be in the church all the time. But I believe in the gathering of people and worshiping and praising, whether you're a Muslim or whatever, that you're Christian, whatever you believe in. But for me, my relationship with God is very important in everything that I do. Even every time in the beginning of the year, I do take some time to actually just pray and dedicate some time to God. And I see that unfolding throughout the year, because it's what you plant. You know how they say you reap what you sow. So it's what you sow. Even if when I say good things to you, automatically, subconsciously, good things will happen back to me because I've sown something in you. So for me, my relationship with God is very important. Very important. I always pray for everything. Everything I have is like a prayer. And because I write down things. I remember last year I wrote some things down. And after writing those things, I prayed over them. And then when they start happening, now when things happen, actually, I'm not shocked at them happening.
Because you know
I know what I asked for, but I also know that I deserve, because for those that are Christians, I also respect other people's religion. When you go back to, when you're reading the Bible, it says God is the God of gods. He's the ultimate God, and then there's other gods. Who are the gods? It's us. It's almost like a child of a king, is a prince, a princess. A child of a queen is a prince or princess. So, meaning you already deserve most of the things that we have. And for me, that knowledge and that understanding helps me say, when everything comes to me, when I've listed down and I've prayed over them, when it comes to me, I'm like, I smile and I keep it moving because I deserve it.
Profound. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your turn.
And your lipstick is on the
Any
microphone.
questions? No, it's not mine, it's Nti's lipstick. Any questions from the floor while they're thinking and deciding who will put their hand up? Which one has been your greatest achievement so far, looking back? Something that you say, wow, that is something I always wanted to do to this point.
Oh, my greatest achievement, sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think starting off Paper Bag Africa.
Okay.
That's like my biggest achievement, because I was scared of the space that I was going to get into. I never knew that today we'll be running the EU Film Festival. Today we'll be doing projects for the British Council with the US Embassy. Today we'll be partnering with people in Nigeria and in South Africa in facilitating for people that operate within music and fashion or whatever space. Because I like to work within fashion, film, and music. Everything else I'm not really good at, so I never get into that space. So Paper Bag Africa for me, I think, was the biggest step forward, and it's my biggest achievement. I'm not looking down upon other things that I've achieved. They've surely made me, who I am today. But I think Paper Bag Africa, because it was scary starting it, and you have to register, you have to go to Zimbra, you have to open a bank account. You have to know all these things that you thought you
It's a
never needed to
journey.
know. It's
Yeah.
a journey. So, and also seeing what it's doing now, exactly what we spoke into is saying, we create content, we manage projects, and we do PR within the African continent. And the content, everything we work on is from the African region. I see it happening now. So it scares me sometimes to say, oh, wow, because we spoke about it, now everything else is happening. So that for me has been the biggest.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, questions? Do you have a roving mic? Besides this one.
We can ask the guy.
All right.
It's good to see so many people.
Thank you. Hello, hi everyone. Hi Gilmore.
Hi.
Yes, my question is on your biggest achievement. What you say is your biggest achievement. I want to ask you this. What made you think, or what lighted that bulb to say, let me start something of my own? Because I understand before Peppa Big Africa, you were doing something else, right? Yeah. So I want to know what made you think, okay, this is the time for me to start this thing.
I realized I wanted to create some wealth, like a legacy of some sort, and I would not do that working for somebody else. So in my mind, I always wanted to say, I want to create a legacy, I want to create a wealth. I want a situation whereby when someone says, like now when we say Econet, everyone's like, oh, strive, you know what I mean? But then if you're working for Econet, no shade, you're going to be there all your life. So I realized I wanted to create a legacy, and I wanted to create something that is going to go on and also influence other people. And I also was not good at working for other people. Like the fact that I kept fighting with someone who was my superior in Senegal, it just frustrated me that what is wrong with this woman? Because she keeps giving me stupid money to do stupid projects, you know what I mean? And I want to do serious things, and I realized because she's also working for someone else, she's not bothered by what we do. So I wanted to be in a space where when I look back, I'm like, oh, okay, this is dope. And I'll put my full energy on it. Because when you're working for someone, you do possibly 8 to 1, you're supposed to chase 1 in Ngondo. By the time you finish work at 5, you're not at work, so 8 to 1. But I wanted to do an 8 to 8. And I wanted to do that knowing that it's something that I'm building for myself and everybody else.
There's a hand someone there in the front. Yeah.
Oh, there's other people there.
Hi, Gilmore.
Hi.
Hi. So we already know that Africa influences the world, but do you think there's something that we as Africans can do to impact the creative world? Because I see that they don't really, not that they don't take us seriously, but they don't recognize our strength in the creative industry. So do you think you have any pointers for us?
As an African creative industry across the world,
Across
I
the
think
world.
we don't have to wait for anybody to sort of like give a stamp to say we should do this. Look at Nollywood in Nigeria. Nigeria decided, you know what, we surely won't be accepted or taken into Hollywood. Why are we not starting our own thing? So I think it's also something, it's like some sort of thing that we lack as African creatives. We want someone to come and say, oh, there is a torch, so keep moving. But what if we go back and we dig, who used to carry the torch back where we come from, and we create our own thing? So we should not wait for somebody to create anything for us. Trust me, if we make enough noise, the world is going to pay attention, just like Nigeria. Everybody listens to Burna Boys and BT, whatever, because they made enough noise by themselves. And by themselves, they also pushed each other. Hence, that's why they're so big. So I don't think they know we're good. The rest of the world knows that we're good. We're like killer at what we do. But then we are waiting for them to give us the passage. But the moment they give us the passage, it's on their terms and conditions. But the moment we start our own things or we create our own music, it might take 5 years or 10 years. But eventually when they will hear because we keep making noise. Yeah. I hope you got it? We good?
Good morning, Gilmore.
Deep voice, bro.
I'm sorry.
You should be like this.
So my question is in relation to what you were saying about cliques in the arts and the creative industry. What is your take on solving that problem, first of all?
Okay.
And what are you doing to solve that problem?
Okay. Obviously, there's a lot of cliques, and you can't run away from that because birds of the same feathers flock together. But for me, when I started off, because I'll give myself as an example, I can't give anyone else as an example because I know myself well. When I started off, it was just so hard to try to penetrate in certain spaces. But I realized the importance of me setting my own table. I realized the importance of me, creating my own thing and inviting people that I also want on my table to come and be on the table, people that share the same energy, people that have the same drive. That's what I did. But also to break the cliquey thing, I think I've tried to work with people from different spaces. If I see that someone is good at what they do, you can't take away that they're good at what they do. Even if you don't like me personally, but if I'm a killer at what I do, I'm a killer. That's the thing. It's true. You don't have to like me personally, it's cool. Like, listen, it's okay. But then if you know that I'm good at what I do, or if I know that Fish or Bill or Blessing is here, or Liam is good at whatever, then they're good at what they do. So maybe I think it's also wisdom. For me, I think I've gained so much wisdom from interacting with people from different backgrounds, and they've helped me grow as an individual. So I realized that one thing that I can never take away from someone is the blessing that they have and the gift that they have. So if I can sort of like work with them, and if I don't like their personalities because I think it's the S word, it's fine, we'll work together, and after that, sharp. I've been trying to do that of late, but some of the people are difficult to work with also.
Okay. My question. Hi, Gilmore, by the way. What's
Hi,
up?
Blessing.
You good? So my question basically is, how do PR companies work? You see, PR Bag is about PR and.
We do three things:
Consult.
concentration, we manage, and we do PR.
All right, cool. Can you explain? Sorry, this is going to be a conversation because I've got two questions.
Okay.
First of all, how do those PR Bag work? PR companies in general, and then explain PR Bag how maybe you generate income, or how does it work? What's the business model really? Because I feel like we're all in this room. Maybe people know, but I personally don't. You know, like PR, I'm like okay,
Education.
but, you know. So, but okay.
I'm kidding.
So no, just hit me up with how does a PR company work, like PR Bag, for example. Let's give an example. Let's say, sorry, sir, to use you as an example. Ashley. Ashley is an actor. PR Bag. Let's make this happen.
Okay, I'll give an example of PR Bag Africa. We already need to be a fan of your work, right? Someone, when we sit down, we need to be like a fan of your work, because I think the only way we can publicize you so much, or we can push you so much, is if we believe in what you have to offer. I'll give an example of Asaf. Before I even met Asaf, I thought it was just incredible. I would listen to his music, I'm like, yo, this guy's amazing. And then we started working together. So already the fact that we're a fan of his work, it made it easier for us to go and convince Nigel and say, Nigel, there's this guy called Asaf. Can you put him up for Shoko Festival? Or can you put him at Intwasa? Because we already believe in what they do. And a fan will always fight for you, right? So that's how we always approach in terms of people that we work with. We sort of always have to look at, okay, if we sit down and there's 4 of us and 3 of us like the person, then we know we're going to have to work with them. If it's just one, then we realize, not like their work. Because then it makes it hard to even try to push the other person to like their stuff. Back to PR Bag Africa. So initially, we just wanted to do PR and branding, helping people to be more visible, well put together. But then we realized, and projects, for people to realize the projects. But with PR Bag Africa, we realized that sometimes there's no content to push. So we then went into, we want to be a 3-panel platform. We create the content. I'll give an example of Friday Late. I don't know if you know it. It happens at the National Gallery. We partnered with the National Gallery in creating Friday Late, because we realized that a lot of people don't access the National Gallery because it closes at 5 p.m. So people like Nigel who go to work won't be able to go to see the National Gallery. But there's so much stuff that is at the gallery. So what did we do to solve that solution? We created the Friday Late. The Friday Late happens every last Friday of the month, where the gallery opens from 5 to 9. So it allows people and young professionals to come through and see the gallery, and also other people to perform, other people to exhibit their work. And then after creating that content, we have to manage it. It's a project. So the project needs to be managed when it starts until the end, hence the management part of it, of PR Bag Africa. So while we're managing the project, we still need to create awareness of today is Friday Late, hence the PR part of it. So we realized we need to be maybe involved from the beginning to the end. And we've done that with people like Mboma Hawks. We're involved from when she started off, and we've seen her grow. So everything that we do, sometimes we want to be involved from when it's just an idea, and then we build on it. And it makes it easier now when you're even publicizing because you know so much about the project because you were there when you started off. That's how we work.
And the business model part?
And how do we make money? Because from the time, guys, let me tell you something. When I was at Alliance Française, I'm now the vice president of the board there, so I'm sure they won't fire me from the board. When I was at Alliance Française, when I started working there and I was their programs manager, or programs coordinator rather, I was using my personal account, my personal email, Gmail, to send in communication. So my boss would be like, no, communicate to whoever. You give me an email. And it was within that space that I realized I'm collecting so many emails of so many influential people because Alliance Française is a diplomatic organization. So you're working with embassies, you're working with the EU delegation, you're working with big companies. And now they knew, okay, there's Gilmour from Alliance Française. But what they empowered me at Alliance Française was me having direct contact with these people. So when I started off my own thing, I went back to the same database that I had. And I said, okay, I want to, for example, do an head series. By the way, I used to communicate with Busi from the American space. And then I hit her up and, hi, Busi, do you remember me? Gilmour, I used to work for Alliance Française. Busi was like, yeah, Gilmour, I remember you. And then I took it from there. So most of the projects, like the EU Film Festival, we are involved in it every single year. The Friday Late, the other clients that come in, like the British Council, they always have projects that we work on, the US embassies. Those are people who we created relationships before when I was still working for other people. So I was like, I kept like looking out like, I'm dealing with, because you would come through and talk to me because you are a CEO of a certain company and you would talk to me because I work for a bigger organization. But if I had to come out of that organization without building a relationship with this person, I would not be able to do that. So I think one thing I'm good at is networking and creating relationships. Hence, it has helped a lot in doing projects and sustaining the company.
That's really cool, really cool. And then my last question, is do you have like a mantra, like something that you tell yourself every single day or something that you keep bringing all the time that keeps you going?
Yeah.
And if you do have one, what is it?
I know that I'm a god. Not ultimate God. I know that I'm a God because my father is a God. So automatically I'm a God. So for me, that knowledge and the belief in it, because sometimes you have knowledge, but if you don't believe in it, it never works for you. So sometimes you have so much knowledge, but it takes you believing in the knowledge for it to work for you. So every now and again, I know like, okay, I'm a God, so meaning I deserve certain things. So I walk in a certain space, I deserve of it because I'm a God. So now when I even knock on a door, I know, possibly my father has gone and knocked for me before. So when I go there, they should be expecting me. So that keeps me going all the time. Hence I say that when I get into spaces and certain things happen to me, I'm inside, I'm like, but outside I'm just like, because I'm a God. So that's what I live by, yeah.
Okay. Hi, Gilmour.
Hi.
Hi. So my question is,
You're looking nice, by the way.
Oh, thank you. What spaces are you occupying in the new decade? And what spaces is Paperback Africa occupying in the new decade?
Yeah, cool. We're going back, my love is fashion. My love is fashion. So we're going back we actually pre-launched something called the Pichani in November last year. We pre-launched it over a picnic, very cool. So we're coming back into the fashion space this year. I think it's been like 3 years since I took a step back in being involved. I'm involved in fashion in terms of attending certain things, speaking at certain platforms, being involved in the backstage, because I wanted to learn. I had questions that I had, and then those questions I've attended them through interacting with other people and going to certain platforms. So the answer to the questions that I had is the Pichani. The Pichani is a Pan-African lifestyle and fashion platform that is going to run over 2 days, and we'll officially launch it in November. That's that. But we're going back to doing work with MTV Sugar because we have the license to distributing their content within Zim and also just helping them reach certain spaces. So we're back I think the MTV Sugar series is going to come back it's going to be in Zim, rather on Zim screens soon, and also on Steaking Echoes and whatever. We're still talking to them, and I've mentioned their names, so they'll think, this one will block him. Other spaces, I just want, on a personal level, I want to be able to help others realize their dreams. I want to be able to help others become a tree, the same way I was a seed and someone planted me, and then I became a stem that produced branches, and the branches are also producing seeds, and the seeds are dropping. So I want to help a lot of people do that, and also make money, because if someone is good at what they do, they need to get paid for it. So that's why I'm like, I want the money all the time. Yeah, so we're going back in the TV space and the fashion space. Yeah.
Hi, Gilmour.
Hi, thanks for coming through.
Pleasure.
Came from SA, this girl. Yeah.
Thank you. So my question basically, I think they can see me.
You have a big head, they can't see you.
They can't see me. Okay.
They want to see your outfit.
Because we're creatives. Anyway, my question, you have mentioned the business side of everything and how to monetize it. But as an entrepreneur, I think the difficult part is actually balancing the business side and your okay side, because it's very stressful to be an entrepreneur, especially on the creative industry.
Yeah.
So how do you keep your sanity, and how do you balance between the energy you're giving now without crossing over to the energy you're supposed to give in 10 years? Because you might use everything, because in being an entrepreneur, when money calls, whether it's 12 p.m.,
Yeah.
I'm there. So, but then how do you balance your life in terms of business and how to keep your sanity, and so that you can, build more on your legacy?
How I balance it is, I think, I with my space, my personal space, I'm very protective over it. So once in a while, I take some time off when I think everything is just so much. Because sometimes it's just so much and there's no money coming. So I take some time off to just say, okay, let me see what I need to actually work on and what I don't need to work on. And sometimes also it's everything that we take on, it needs to fit within the vision of Paperback Africa and the vision that I have for Paperback Africa. To say, does it allow us to create content that we're proud of as Africans? Does it allow us to tell our own narratives as Africans? Because there are so many projects and there's so many people that come to you and say, we want to do this with you. But every now and again, when we're making a decision to say we're going to work on this, we always go back to what's our vision. And if sometimes it doesn't fit the vision, we'll say, no, it's fine, we won't take it. I was saying to Nti, the girl was the lady who was introducing everybody. I was saying to her that sometimes how you turn those things down, because you don't want to burn bridges, how you turn those things down, you sort of say, unfortunately, I cannot do it because I'm already doing something else at that particular time. And that's how you pass it on, because I would have realized it's not something that fits within the vision that I have. And sometimes it's also just bad energies, because I'm an energy person. So sometimes I get into a space and I pick energies. I'm like, it's not my place. So it's just choosing what fits within your vision. Goes back to the vision anyway.
Okay, and then one more thing. How do you focus, or how do you pick your clients?
Yeah.
What do you see worth as a brand to really invest all of the energy?
Yeah. Actually, it's just a simple thing. Every time we sit down, especially with individuals that are talented individuals, the question is always, so what's your ultimate dream? Like, what's your ultimate goal with what you're doing? One person that we sat down with the other day was like, I just want to be famous. I want the girls to come to me. Automatically, we realize it's not the person that we want to work with, because when I'm working with people, I want them to think bigger than that. So I want to work with people that want to be authorities in the space that they work in. So if I sit down with Nti and I ask him, what's your ultimate goal? I want you to give me an answer such as, I want to run my own media company. I want to also produce productions, because I'm a TV host now, but I know a few years later I want to go behind the scenes. I want to groom others. Automatically, for me, that's an answer to say she wants to be an authority in the space that she works in. She doesn't want to be too famous. Of course, she's going to be famous, but that's not the goal. But she wants to be an authority, so that's how we always pick people.
Okay, sorry guys. One more question. How do we, like you said, you're bridging the gap.
Yeah.
I consistently come to Zimbabwe, right? Because whatever learning that I, especially being in the creative industry, I really want to be at that side, because there's so much demand of what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And how do you balance the skills, considering the financial side of
Yeah.
in Zimbabwe, and as well creating those metrics that really produce results, not really just metrics. I know you do you cool.
Yeah.
But now how do you monetize the relationship between the countries outside Africa and as well within Africa?
I think it's doing research, and unfortunately for Zim, Zimbabwe, we don't have numbers. We don't have numbers. We're like a 14 million, right? 14 to 16 million country. So now and again, for me, what I've realized is that we are able to take stuff from Zim outside. There's a lot of demand because people are fascinated about Zimbabwe. But, you stay in Zim, I hear you guys queue for fuel. I hear you guys go for 5 days without electricity and water. And people are fascinated by that. And it has created like a strong character with us and as individuals. So automatically that interest on Zim allows us, already gives you the light to say there's demand for what I'm offering. So maybe when you go out and say, hi, my name is Mary, I'm from Zim, I am a makeup artist. The first question they'll ask is like, how are you surviving in that country? So it gives you leverage to sort of like push what you're offering. But bringing stuff into Zim has always been hard for me in the sense that every time when you're trying to work with people, especially big, now I'm doing stuff with the GQ South Africa. Every now and again when I'm looking at activities to go to in Zim, they're always thinking, Zim doesn't have the numbers. And also Zim people seem not to spend a lot because obviously we have too many problems to start spending too much money. So it's always been hard bringing stuff into Zim. And even when I'm trying to cover stuff for Zim, it has to have some international appeal. Like go to Victor's Carnival, they would prefer such content. It's in Zim, but it's an international appeal, meaning so many people will buy into it. But if it's just Zim in general, they're always saying, you guys don't have the numbers. You are incredible. We would appreciate your services outside, but we're not able to bring stuff in your country because you don't have the numbers and the financial pool.
Great.
It answers?
That's okay. Thank you. Where's the mic? Okay, go ahead.
Hey. Okay, I guess my question is, whoa, it just disappeared. Where did it go?
That's what happens to blondes.
What happened?
Because the hair is blonde.
Okay, right, okay, it's back. So as a creative, well, I would say as Paperback Africa, are you wanting to expand throughout Africa or do you just want to be based in Zimbabwe? Because I guess for me personally, as you know, like I want to move back to Zim, but my fear is like financially, will it be sustainable to be a creative in Zimbabwe, or is it better to expand in Africa? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's called Paperback Africa, not Paperback Zim. It was very deliberate in the sense that we don't want to only do it in Zim. So already, the idea is to expand across Africa. We want to be the paperback of Africa. So how we're doing that already, we've been doing projects. Last year, I think we did a lot of Mozambique, Nigeria, where else? And a few other places, I can't remember. So the idea is to influence the African continent and do projects within the African continent. And also look at the numbers. Like when you look at East and West Africa, there's so many numbers there. Southern Africa, I think we're still, because we think we're the it in Southern Africa is a region. But then there's West Africa that's popping and East Africa. And again, the same thing I said, just because you come from Zim, it already creates like an opportunity. Because when you go there and say, hi, my name is Gilmore Tee, I'm from Zim. They're like, you are Mugabe's son. and so already it gives me like an opportunity for me to get into the space because it starts the conversation. So the idea is Paperback Africa needs to be Paperback Africa, not Paperback Bulawayo or Zimbabwe. Yeah. Did you say amen?
Yes.
Hi, Gilmore.
Hello.
I'm good. I just wanted to ask how you manage to balance your social life and the fame, or being in the spotlight, and being a person in the spotlight and your personality as a person. Do you find it a bit difficult sometimes to, you know how people tend, when you're in the spotlight, sometimes you tend to be forced to have certain personalities depending with the environment you're in and who is watching you. So how do you manage to balance that and to actually manage yourself?
I think my friends help me a lot in terms of that. And I also don't put pressure on myself to want to act a certain way and be a certain way because there is no need to. So I think for me, how I've managed is I don't put pressure on myself to say, okay, because I'm doing this, I should act a certain way. People like Lady Chow would know, would say, all the time, I'm like, let's go for our Istrala date. Fish, you would know that. So it's because it's something that I like. So I don't want to put pressure on myself to sort of like pretend to be something else. I always believe that everything that I am today is because of the things that I've always valued. Not that I value Maputi so much, I just love them. But it's it's just knowing, having that knowledge to say, I don't want to pressure myself. Who should I pressure? Why should I pressure myself? The fact that I'm here, it means whatever that I'm doing is sort of right. Maybe I just need to tweak one or two things. So let me keep it going.
Hi, Gilmore.
Jimmy.
Hi, everyone. I'm looking for a job at Paperback Africa. I'm kidding. So my question is, well, from the time I've known you, you seem to be like a very strong character and natural at it. But I think, what are your fears? And well, before I get to that, you've done a lot of things, you know? And I've heard some things today that I didn't know that you've done. You know, you've been in and out of school, etc., etc. But what are your fears in pursuing whatever that it is that you want to pursue? Like, you do quite a lot of things. Do you ever fear getting into something or dropping one thing and getting into another?
Everything I sort of like get into, it's something that I sort of like have a passion for. But my fear is dying, not being able to exhaust everything that I'm good at. That's like my fear. So I always feel like if I'm good at something, I want to make sure that I excel in it. I want a situation whereby, even if it's in the fashion industry, even if I'm not there, and I'm not a designer, by the way, but when a conversation is had, when there's a conversation somewhere about fashion, and even in Araro, Guero, there need to be a drop of what I'm doing in the fashion industry. So it's sort of like, going back, my fear is just dying without exhausting everything I'm good at. So I make sure that everything that I'm good at, I'm doing something about it. But the things come at a certain stage, because I think 2 years back, I never used to write a lot. It just came in now because it's something that I'm good at, and I know I kill it. Yeah. So I brought it back now, and I was like, okay, I want to focus on that. So it always comes in at a particular time, and every time it comes, I want to make it a banger. Yeah. So I say to myself, I'm going to come back to writing like how I used to write. Yeah. I'm not going to come and write for a blog. No, nothing wrong with that. But that's just me. I want to write for something bigger. And when the opportunity came to write for GQ magazine, I was like, oh, dope. And the very first big writing thing came last year, and I was like, oh, boom, I'm writing for GQ. So I always want to take time, but also think of how I want to introduce what I'm good at to the public on a bigger level.
Okay. Just add that, and with all that you've said, what keeps driving you? Where does Gilmore Tee want to see himself? And do you have plans of retiring?
Of retiring?
Ever?
Dude, I'm only 29. First thing I said, I want to create a wealth and a legacy. I want to create a wealth. And I want my legacy not to be only about me. But I want I want my story to come through other people. The same thing I said, someone put a seed and I grew into a tree, and then I'm like a stem that's producing branches. I want also my branches to produce seeds. That way the story keeps going on. I want a situation whereby Lebo is talking about her story. She's like, you know what, I'm now like the popping not Hollywood, maybe it's Hollywood makeup artist. Because maybe Zima would be big then, would have occupied South Africa and Swaziland and everything else and the populations. Yeah, there's this guy who helped me, or whatever. So I want a situation whereby I also want to help touch lives, and I want my story to be told through the lives that I've touched. Not me sitting and talking about it, but I want it to constantly reflect in other people's lives. That's what I dream of.
Any more questions? Hi, Gilmore.
Hello. Where is she?
No, I'm behind the big guy, so you can't see me.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. You spoke about how you grew up and how there's so much unacceptance of artistic people in families. And I can see, as an artist, I can relate that it can create a sense of self-doubt when you start something and you think, will I finish it? Are they right? Am I wasting time? So I want to know how you got over that, how you dealt with the self-doubt, to get to this point.
One thing I did for myself was to research on the space that I want to work within. It's so weird to be like staring at this guy when I'm trying to stare at the girl at the back. One thing that I did is like I said I want to work in fashion, I want to work in film, in content creation, in creating content for these two sectors. I did research on it, and then when I entered and I started doing what I was doing, I was killing it all the time. So it became sort of like, to them it was like, oh, look at me now, I'm killing it. So they had no other option but to support me, because I went in there with the ultimate goal being to kill. not kill people, but to kill to kill it in the industry. So maybe what you need to do, obviously, not everyone is going to get the support, but when you do it, when you love what you do and you're going to do it, make sure you do it to the highest level and to the best of your ability. That's how I do it. So at the end of it all, they have no option but to look at it and say, you're doing well. With a smirk on their faces, but they know you're doing well. Does it answer you?
Okay, at the back there.
Hi, Gilmore.
Hi. Hi.
So
I haven't seen you in a long time. It's good to see you.
Yeah, I haven't seen you too. Anyways, I just wanted to ask Uguti. I believe you are a slasher or something like that. You're doing this / that, and you've been doing this / that.
Yes.
And I want to ask, how do you handle doing different things at the same time? What advice would you give someone who's a slasher? Because I think I'm a slasher, or I'm a beginner slasher.
Yeah.
I'm doing this / that and / that. And it becomes incredibly overwhelming.
Yeah.
And especially trying to stay mentally stable at the same time. How do you handle that?
It goes back to, everything that I do, I wanted to be able to help me I think on my tweet, I don't know if I removed it, I say I have a strong voice and I'm ready to work. So anything that allows my voice to be heard, and sometimes my voice won't be heard by me speaking, but can be heard on a paper, it can be heard by the way I look or dress, anything that allows my voice to be heard and that I know I'm good at, I make sure that I invest in it. I think you also just need to invest. Investment can come in, researching, interacting with people within the same space. They'll help you grow. And anything else for me that I know I'm not good at, I will never do it. I never do it. So it's just going back to the quote to say, the research part, research on it, but also how does it help you elevate? Because you have a goal, obviously, and you have things that you've written down. Is it helping you to go to the vision or to go to the step that you want to go to? If it's helping you, then maybe invest more in it and push it. That's how I deal with it.
As we come back to the front, questions?
There's a few people at the back.
All right.
Hi, Gilmore.
Hi.
So I have a question, but also I'm taking a risk here. So on the ad, it said that it's a one-on-one with Gilmore. And my question, I guess, and I'm hoping that you answer maybe specifically, that's the risky part. What are the main things that you think specifically Vlaya artists are lacking in? Because you get to work with a lot of them and you get to watch a lot of them. And I know that you're opinionated and you've got stuff to say. So the risky part is that can you, for the artists that are here, if you know them and you see them, like specifically say, you could do this. Why I'm saying that's a risk is because I know that that's something you have to be paid to do because that's like consulting. But is there a chance that we can get, that one-on-one and, by any chance?
Yeah. One thing that I know about artists, I tweeted about it yesterday, Tinashe, when we were together. And I said, sometimes also, because first of all, we do not research within the industry that we're operating within. We don't know the market. So I feel like Bula is such a talented city. Almost everyone is an artist. Everyone is talented. Because if you're talented and you have something to offer, you're an artist. But we keep setting ourselves to ourselves. You find a situation where there's a group on WhatsApp, and the group only has artists, and people are bombarding you with posters. I'm like, what's going on? You know what I mean? So we keep setting ourselves to ourselves, and we keep screaming against the wall. We're crying, and we're not screaming at the right spaces. Hey, fishy, so the problem with artists is we're setting ourselves to ourselves, and unfortunately, we won't be able to buy ourselves. Hence, you look at people like Nobuntu. Nobuntu realized won't do much because that's quick. But then they realize Bulawayo is not their market. It's the thing that we're lacking is we're not we're not researching on the market. Our market is artists. Bulawayo is not our market because everybody said quick. Nobuntu said we're going to sell the quick to the Europeans that get fascinated by the language that we speak. And hence they've been touring the Europe, US, and everywhere else. And they're doing well because they took time to research on their market. Hence, they're now selling their products to the rest of the world. Tina, as artists, we lack in that. We think, no, being in Zimbabwe is only 14 million guys. It's half of Lagos, a city in Nigeria. We try, and possibly people that can access your stuff or the things that you're offering, a third of the 14 million, because in English it's high. So who are we selling ourselves to? So what we're lacking is doing research and knowing where our market is and taking the risk to say, let's sell our products outside. That's what we're lacking as artists. And do I give an example? Fish, for example. You know Fish, right? Or you can show them. Are you not going to punch me after this? Like Fish is he's a talented artist, but I also feel like sometimes it's the wrong platforms you go to. You know these club things where everyone else is high and they're not listening to what you have to offer. Yet you're such an amazing artist and you have such a strong message. You're going to the platforms that are wrong. Berita used to do that. Unfortunately, she's not here. Maku, what's up? Berita used to do that. She would come down and perform at the, what's this thing? Kalawa thing. And then because it was the wrong audience. And she kept going there and performing. No one was listening because people are high. All they want to hear is the faro, is about Jimmy. So we need to research on our market and we should stop going to spaces that is not our spaces. We had a conversation earlier with Unti where I was saying, Uti, for me, going back to me, giving an example, things that I know don't sit well with me, I never go into. Even if it's an event, I don't go because I know it's not the space that I'm supposed to be in. If you go and MC a boom boom pow shutdown event, it's not the things that I do. I like doing live television. Hence, I'll be doing stuff I've done stuff with the Zimbabwe Music Awards, the Bulawayo Arts Awards, and something else that's coming in February. I'll be doing something there. The National Arts Measure Awards, I'm hosting the red carpet. I like doing live televised things. So when people are trying to book you and say, come and do into not even pre-recorded, into I never go because I know it's not the space I'm supposed to go into. So it's the knowledge.
3 more questions before we wrap it up.
Oh, we're wrapping up already.
I don't know who would be asking. Yeah.
Hi, Mtasi.
Hi.
First and foremost, thank you. A lot of people within Bulawayo have been wondering who Gilmour is and what his story is.
Yeah.
So thank you for this. And I think it's so important that we finally get to know the person behind Unheard, to know the person behind Paperbag, to know the person behind all these other things that we've seen you propel and push. So thank you for that. My question is, you've spoken about your challenges, and you've explained how you've overcome those challenges, but you haven't told us your fears, what your fears have been, what they are, if there are any, right now. Because a challenge and a fear, 2 different things. What are the fears that you as Gilmour have faced within the creative sector, not even on your personal space, but within the creative sector? What has been the thing that you said, wow, this scared me, and this is how I overcame it?
My fear is, within the creative industry, is certain people feeling that you are a threat to them and blocking you, because there's a lot of that. So I'm always like, every now and again, it's sort of like you watch your step, but then at times I'm like, why am I watching my step? Because it's my path. So what are they doing in my path? So the fear is just having people block you or block your journey in general. I'm also afraid of using so much money and being broke in the creative industry because you put so much. When you do a bigger project that gives you money, you also need to invest in certain things that will possibly bring money. So my fear is, what if we put money in this thing and nothing happens? What's going to happen? I don't want to be broke. Like, poverty is not my portion. I don't even like suffering. So because of that, the fear of being broke and suffering, I'm always trying to explore other avenues to make sure, okay, by the way, I don't want to die poor. And I don't like poverty. I don't like struggling in general. So what else can I do? Hence, maybe I constantly go out and look for new opportunities because I realize there's already some avenues or spaces in Zim that have been blocked. But low, because some of us, we come with no name, We have a name, but we come with no minister, Dr. Baniban. You just come as Gilmour. So you're trying to create something for whoever is going to come after you. So those fears, every now and again.
So you talk about being and whoever and building a legacy. I was going to see little Gilmours benefiting from this legacy that you are building. Are you in a relationship or
was a whole relationship? I would love to have children, but I'm not like a believer of the institution of marriage, unfortunately.
I didn't ask you about marriage.
Yeah, you said.
I asked you about a relationship. If there'll be little Gilmours to benefit from this legacy that you're building, and they do not have to be in a marriage setup.
Of course, that's why I'm working so hard, because somebody has to benefit. So they will be little kids benefiting from it. Can I tell you something? I never want to expose. I'm very private with my family and and anything personal.
It's a yes or no?
Yes, I'm in a relationship. Yes, I'm in a relationship. Yes.
And you're black-fit. Whoever you are, I'm sure you are here to support.
No, they're not.
But where's the mic?
You'll be asking people about relationships.
Hi, everyone. Excuse me, I would just probably want to flex my muscle. As you said, you speak French. Bonjour, mon frère.
Oui, je parle français.
Oui, ça va. Ouais, bon, je voulais savoir, tu as dit que tu étais à l'Alliance française.
Oui.
Puis tu es allé au Sénégal.
Oui.
Tu voulais savoir qu'est-ce que tu as fait là-bas.
Au Sénégal?
Oui.
Actuellement, à l'Alliance française, j'étais en charge des événements culturels.
D'accord.
Au Sénégal, j'étais en charge des suivis et évaluations pour Action Aid International.
Okay,
c'était là-bas pour... C'était 1h30 actuellement.
Ah bon?
Ouais.
Okay, c'est bon. Bon, okay, sorry. My question is... okay, I was now speaking English. My question is, I'm really fascinated by fashion, actually. So you said you're not a designer, but into fashion. I just wanted to know really how you do it and what you do. I wanted to, when I live here, just have an idea what really your trade is when it comes to fashion. Thank you.
I might as well explain the other things. So in fashion, I'm sort of like, I'm involved in the business of fashion. In the business of fashion in the sense of, I help a lot of designers, I groom designers, I help them discover their markets. I help them also perfect their quality, because quality control and quality assurance is a problem in the fashion industry, especially in Zimbabwe. People have, is this my microphone?
I don't think so.
I think it's yours, you're playing with it. Yes, you're playing with it. So I'm involved in the business of fashion. So I'm like sort of like the go-to person when you're a fashion designer or you're an upcoming designer and you want to sort of like know clearly of what market you should go to, what you're good at, and I can sort of like guide you in that space. But I'm more about fashion designers also being able to fully tell their story the same way filmmakers and musicians do that. Hence, you have people like House of Stone that I mentioned. She's a designer from Harare. She's doing so well. She incorporates Shona culture in her fashion, but it's in such a trendy way. She was even on Vogue in November, right? Nkanyezi Tumalunga, for example, she's one of the designers that I've worked with for many, many years. We go back to high school. When you see her designs, you can tell her story. Because her story is like, and I used to take amahlamvu and crush them and dye my outfits or something. And you can see that in her clothes. So I'm sort of like involved in making sure that your brand has a full definition and a full representation of where you come from. And then after that, I help them plug in on different fashion platforms where you showcase, whether it's Nigeria, Mozambique, South Africa, I help them plug in there. But I only like plugging in people with their story, because everybody else can draw something and make an outfit. But then I'm a believer of how are you telling your story with your fashion. And the few people that I've mentioned, Kanyezi to Danai, House of Stone, they've done that very well. And a lot of other people too. Yeah. So I'm the business person to go to for fashion. I'm like the father of fashion.
Hi, Gilmour.
Hello.
First of all, I'd love to say thank you for giving us this opportunity.
the same way you're a Viking, you're a warrior, you're like the most amazing person that I always look up to. There's times I'll be like, okay, how should I approach this guy? You know, things like that.
Because I'm a snob, huh?
That I've noticed.
No,
But there's certain things that we human beings suffer from, which is procrastination.
Yeah.
So my grandma used to tell me there's certain things that she used to do that she could have done, and she left them behind. And now she's like trying to tell me I should not do that. So on your side, were there certain things that you used to I'll leave it at the side and I'll do it again? Or there's certain things that you now you look back and be like, maybe I need to continue doing it. Or there's certain other things, okay, maybe certain opportunities that are way better than the ones that you used to leave behind. Something similar to that. But basically, did you suffer maybe the syndrome of procrastination?
Yeah, I did actually, and I think when I had that, and I knew I wanted to do it, but I kept saying, how would I do it? Should I do it or should I not? I always go back to sort of finding out why is it that I want to do it, and then if I have the answer, then I should do it. But if I don't have the answer, then I should stop. So it's almost like the thing that I mentioned, the Pichani, the Pan-African lifestyle and fashion platform that we'll be launching this year. It took 3 years to do. I was like, do I want to do it? Should I do it? How is it going to be sustainable? So all those questions, I kept looking for answers for them until I found the answers, and then I started doing it. So I think maybe sometimes, Nigel, hiya. I think that sometimes you need to, if it keeps coming back to you, go back to it and do a little bit more, maybe pray on it or research on it, but find out more information. And also go back deep within yourself to say, why do I want to do it? And sometimes you might have the knowledge, but it's the lack of belief. Because for me with the Pichana, I think I knew I would, if I do it, or if I do anything fashion, I do it well. I mean, I used to do that, but I never believed in myself. Even with a lot of things that I think I'm doing now, I knew I was good at it because people would say it, but I never believed in myself. The moment I started believing in myself, everything else started working for me.
Awesome. Gilmour Skiban. Salbonan, Bizolam Unai Ndlovu. I'm a media entrepreneur. So I've got 2 questions for you, Gilmour. The first one is, what is your net worth? And the second one... and the second one is, you were nominated for list Forbes under 30 what, and everyone on Twitter.
What?
Yeah. Everyone on Twitter, is solo, and 2 days back, you can actually nominate yourself or whatever. Yeah. So Forbes, did you nominate yourself or bagufak?
So my friends who are my cheerleaders, I mentioned about my friends. I'm also cheerleaders for them. I think 5 of them went on and they submitted stuff on my behalf. But we know when you submit stuff with the Forbes or whatever, any nomination, they will also do research on you, and then they reach out to you. It's like a 3-staged or 4-staged, because they'll ask for certain things, and then you respond to those. First is questions, then the second part, they ask for other papers, like your company papers, bank statements, or whatever. They'll ask for other things until I'm tired of submitting stuff. And then it's only, for me, especially last year, I was like, we keep submitting things. I keep typing stuff over 2 hours. What's the end result? And then when eventually they said, no, we think you're worth, I thought, okay, this is cool. But it's not like, Wuti, they put you on the list because you have so much money. I want so much money. I want to be a Strive Masiwa too. I want to be a Gilmore Tee. With Strive Masiwa as a friend. It's just they see that you have potential at what you're doing. And with the bank statements that you submit and your financials that you submit, they can say, okay, this person actually is bringing in some money. If he has that stamp to say he's a Forbes 30 under 30, chances are a lot of people want to work with him because that's what has been happening after I got that. A lot of people have been reaching out. Serious people. No team, only up. I'm kidding, Leo, I love you. But serious people have been reaching out, wanting to work with me. So it also helps you sort of get the net worth that I will have possibly next year.
I was going to ask you, what are the benefits of being a Forbes 30 under 30 besides the hype and the publicity and the names that are now knocking at your door? Is there anything else? Is there money?
The names that knock on your door with money are the benefits. Because you literally get invitations. Like when I went to Nigeria, I got an invitation from the GT Bank. Oh, we want you to come, and we're paying for everything, and we're doing this, we're doing that for you. We want you to come through and and attend the GT Bank Fashion Weekend. And then when you are there, they also introduce, because they think you're worthwhile, you should be the cream from your country, which I'm hoping I am. They also start introducing to other people that can actually help you grow your business. So for me, what has benefited me the most is the project that I'm working on now and the project that we're going to be working on this year. It's serious people that actually say, there is a budget. No, they'll say, okay, we want to work with you on this area. This is the budget that we have. What can we do? That's what it comes with.
So, as we wrap up, Gilmore Tee, the global citizen, you've always put yourself out there as not just being confined to Bulawayo and Zimbabwe and being in the globe, but what's in that paper bag for Zimbabwe? How would you want the world to, when they're shopping for African content, to always pick Zimbabwe through you because of what you are selling to the world?
I want them to pick quality Zimbabwean talent and product. So the people that I even try to work with, the main thing, that's why I'm saying I'm always telling someone that we work with, you need to aim to be an authority. And you need to also be authentic with the story that you tell. I like what Nigel is doing. Not that because you asked me about the net worth. Maybe you should send me EcoCash. But he's also owning his stories. He's telling his own stories. And eventually, everybody is going to know of him. He's going to explode. If you're not already exploding. I mean, not fatness, but I mean, you know, what you're doing. So I want the world to get quality Zimbabwean product or talent through me. I don't like also just associating with none, you know, into ezingekho sharp.
And someone back there asked about their fears of coming back to Zimbabwe and the arts industry. I personally have said, I think Bulawayo, we should forget about Bulawayo being an industrial hub of old, and maybe look at the potential that the arts and culture has for Bulawayo to grow, because there's so much to showcase here. Where do you think Bulawayo stands in terms of the arts and the work you are doing to put it out there?
Bulawayo there's so much talent in Bulawayo, but the most frustrating thing is when you're trying to bridge the gap between the creative space and the corporates and the NGO sector. First of all, our city council needs to buy in the fact that we're an extremely talented city. They've bought in here and there, but buying in doesn't mean you do it once in a while. The city, right now, we should be fully embracing the fact that there's so many creatives in the city. So it starts from the city council. Maybe it's just challenging the Bulawayo City Council to say, I know it's being live streamed, to say, can you actually revise if you have any budget for the creative industry? How are you helping the industry grow? Because surely the Bulawayo is not an industrial hub anymore, it's now a creative hub. So how are we taking advantage of that as the Bulawayo City Council? Because if it doesn't start with our fathers, nothing else is going to happen. So if our city fathers are sleeping on us, then that's why everyone is leaving and going to pop outside the country. And then when they start doing well outside the country, we want to start claiming them and putting them on our pages. But what have we been doing when they were here? So it's one thing that frustrates me the most, that we seem to say, oh no, we'll go to a certain extent, and then we don't go fully. But if the Bulawayo City Council itself fully supports, everybody else around them will support, because it's a big institution. So banks will also say, okay, if the Bulawayo City Council is in full support, then we should also support. So that's what frustrates me the most.
And your advice to the artists, you earlier on talked about selling a product to each other, you know, as artists. How else can artists network and help each other, sell each other's products or promote each other? I speak from, as a consumer of arts in Bulawayo, and reading tweets and Facebook debates where artists are always saying Bulawayo is not supportive, and ama promoters are Bulawayo, they bring foreign artists and stuff like that. And then I ask myself, Uguti, what can Bulawayo do? Question number one. And if you can infuse an answer on why you are still in Bulawayo, I would expect someone like you and the work you're doing, from what I've seen, or South Africa relocated and said, this is not a brand for Bulawayo, to be headquartered in Bulawayo. I'd rather go to Joburg or somewhere else. Why are you still here?
Okay. The first question was the promoters and etc. I just think what we could do, you know, the nice thing about it now is also an individual basis. It comes back to you as a person. There is so much abundance of the internet. Right now when we're coming in, there are so many people outside using the free Wi-Fi here. The question is, how are we using that to build bridges and reaching out to other people? Because I feel like at the end of it all, we might cry, but also with the internet. I mean, most of the things that I've gotten, most of the people that I've met in my life, these people that I exchange dialogue with on social media and on Twitter, and they've helped me build something, and they've helped me grow. So sometimes maybe we also need to just say, okay, I'm a musician. Where is my music? Because surely Bulawayo is not the consumer. Maybe there's a few people that will consume your music. But do you have your music online? Do you have your music on YouTube? How do we access your music? It starts from there. But also, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you celebrating the next person. It's a conversation I always have to say, there's this thing, Oguti, if I celebrate you, I've lost something. So if you are doing well, if I pump up what you're doing, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's something that we lack, not just in Bulawayo, in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, we suffer from that, whereby we don't celebrate the people that are doing stuff. We know that Busi is doing the most, but I cannot simply just put a tweet and say, guys, make sure you go follow Busi and check out what she's doing. So there's that lack of embracing each other and appreciating each other. Zimbabwe has a lot of embracing outside things. You go to, no offense, I'm sorry, I'm going to throw this out there. I hope they'll work with me again. I was so frustrated when we went to Shoko Festival some years back. And when we were there was a South African artist. And there was also just an equally good artist who was performing, who was a Zimbabwean, and the Bulawayo artist. And when we were there, the South African artist had asked for a tent to themselves, a whole tent, and it's one person. And then now these organizers are coming to say to everyone, go out, including some other people that I look up to in the music space and say, wow, these guys are legendaries. And then they're being told to get out of the space because this artist wants to be in the space. And I'm like, no, they're not going to go out. They're going to be here. And then I became a problem, and I realized we have an issue of loving ourselves and embracing ourselves. And it's a Zimbabwean thing, and the moment we start loving ourselves, the moment you start loving yourself, you are able to love the next person. You are able to tweet about Nigel's podcast. You are able to tweet about Dalu's film. You are able to tweet about whoever's project, what they're doing. So the problem we face, we have a difficulty of embracing ourselves and loving ourselves as Zimbabweans. We only do that when the rest of the world is caught up to, Danai Gorilla is kicking it, and she's on Black Panther, and everyone starts saying, Danai. And Danai will say, I don't know you. And it will be true, because before you never embraced it, because someone else is embracing it. So you see the mentality is, because someone else embraced it, now we need to embrace it. What happened to us just embracing what we have? And also just that tweet or giving that open love. Because in many cases, these people come to you when they are drunk, you bump into them in festivals, they're like, you're doing well. How? But you never say that anywhere else. So why should your compliment come when you are intoxicated? Because we're lacking embracing each other.
And embracing where we come from.
Yeah. We aspire to be other things. And I had a conversation with Upati Sanyati, Ubaba Upati Sanyati. They say, Ubaba Upati Sanyati. The other day, and then he says that the African is quick to run away from themselves. And that statement really disturbed me, and I was like, okay, what is he talking about? And later on, he says, look at us. Even later, child sambe sokudla isitshwala. Isitshwala. Asambe sokudla phela Chinese, Shangri-La, whatever it's called. So already there's a problem there. We are quick to run away from ourselves.
Or you won't post an Instagram picture of you eating isitshwala.
No.
You post one usidla iburger ngaleko food lovers, not kosisbi or traditional. Anyway, this also comes into the question I asked about how you've embraced Bulawayo and being local and not taking your art outside.
Yeah. I am taking my works outside.
But from here?
From here. I never wanted to. Someone was like, why don't you go to Joburg? When I was doing stuff with Gareth Cliff on Cliff Central, they're like, why don't you just come and be based in Joburg? South Africa scares me. It really scares me. Like, I'm like, who actually stays here? But they do stay there. Shout out to my South African people if they're watching. But it scares me. But there's something about, Bulawayo is a difficult place to work from, but Bulawayo humbles you so much. Because no one will come and say, hey, you're doing this. You get that from everywhere else. When you go to Harare, people actually recognize you. So the fact that Bulawayo is like a retirement city, but in a good way. So there's this humility that comes in being in Bulawayo. Hence, for me, it has worked in the sense that when I do a project, or I attain a certain recognition, I celebrate it. Trust me, I do celebrate it. But it never gets into my head and it's stuck there. I celebrate it and I move on. Because I think of the nature of Bulawayo and the people of Bulawayo and just our culture. Our culture, you need to be calm. So I think maybe that's why I'm in Bulawayo, because it always reminds me of what else I can do. Because I never feel like I've arrived. Because nobody makes you feel like you've arrived besides a few people. So it works for me. For others, it doesn't. For other people, it doesn't work. But for me, it works because there's always this reminder to say, you know what, you need to do more.
Beautiful. Do we feel like we know Gilmore better? Thank you so much. Yes, applause. This has been great. I felt I knew you before, but now I think I know you even better. I'm sure I hope I'll be asked to interview again in 10 years' time when you are bigger and friends with Strive Masiwa this time and your net worth is now, you're on the cover of the larger Forbes, the global Forbes, not just the African Forbes. Thank you so much for your time. I don't know if there's anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to leave our audiences online and offline with as we part ways.
I think one thing I would say, and I always say to people even that I work with, is like you just need to be extremely careful with the people that you bring around you. Because people that you bring around you reflect a lot in you and in the things that you do. Amanda Ulomsindo. She never makes noise when she's around me. So we need to be very careful with the friends that we make, the people that we bring around us, because those are the people that actually help you become whatever that you are. So I was saying to someone, because someone is always like, why are you always pumping so much? Oh, this is Charleston, oh, Mboma Hawks. You're always the one talking about them, because they're my friends. And you know what? These are the same friends that when things are not happening, they are there. When we need to pray, they are praying for you. When we need, when I do something good, they're the first ones to know and they're the first ones to talk about this thing. So these are the friends that we need. So if you have, like, we need to be, your friends need to be your biggest cheerleaders. They need to be your biggest, they need to kuza you also when you're getting a big head to say, ha, nti, it's not popping anymore. So it's true. So we need to be careful with the people we bring in our spaces because they help you grow, they help you become a better person, or they help you realize certain things. And there is nothing wrong with you celebrating your people and praying with them and crying with them too.
Thank you so much. Hand of applause again for Gilmore Tee. Thank you so much, Gilmore. My biggest takeaways from you today are be careful of who's around you, and you are a God.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and God bless you, and may you continue to grow and inspire us all.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Wusi, for moderating that conversation. And I also thought I knew Gilmore. Like, I thought I know him, but then I'm sure we all learned something today. And one thing also for me, like whether you like this guy or not, guys, he's doing the things, he's doing the most. And he also did mention that whether you like someone or not, you can never take away the gift that they have. You can never take away the blessing. So as you're seated here today, not everyone is in the creative space. I have a friend, she's a medical doctor. No one will ever take away the way you deal with patients and dissect and do whatever in your workspace. No one will ever take away...
My patience low.
No one will ever take away your voice for your brown. No one will ever take away whatever gift you have. So thank you so much, guys, once again for coming. And let's take this with us each and everywhere we go. I'm sure we all learned something today. And of course, we'd like to thank Paperback Africa, of course, for this opportunity and platform for us to engage the North American space. Wusi Pepe, our moderator, my sister and friend. We'd like to thank Sight. Sight, hi, wave. For the live streaming, yes, the camera guys. We'd like to thank Charles and Natalia. He took amazing photos of all of us. You'll see them. Just follow Paperback Africa on Twitter. And we would like to thank Stanley.
Yeah,
yes.
Live and sound.
Yes, yes. We'd like to thank Stanley for the sound. And you guys, it wouldn't have been possible if you guys were not here. So give a hand to yourselves. I mean, you're so amazing. Yeah, thank you guys. Me, I love to talk. I talk for a living. So I'd also like to thank my father. He's not here. Daddy, I love you. Mwah. Pops. Yes.
All right, so this is from me. Guys, I just want to thank you all. When we're actually coming up with this, with my team, I was like not sure if we should do this or not. But then I think the whole of last year for me has been like an amazing year, like in terms of things and projects and spaces that I've been in. So there's been a lot of questions coming in on social media and on Twitter and Instagram, etc. So I thought, okay, why not? And also I'm a strong believer of how you start your year is how you end your year. So I want to share. I mean, I feel like my hands are golden. I say that to my friends. My hands are golden, and God has blessed me with the golden hands that when I touch stuff, things happen. And nobody can take away the golden hands. But I just hope you also realize your purpose in life as individuals. Like, what's your purpose? And how are you making sure you're fulfilling that? And how are you also serving other people? Because it's never about you only. So thank you for coming through and also taking time to listen. It was very scary to say, hey, are they even going to come? So our friends at Steakneck would like to give away a few movie vouchers. So if you check under your seats, just touch the seat. There's a few seats that have a little paper.
I know Oprah.
There's nothing. Don't worry. Matilda.
Wow, congratulations.
Can you go in this office and pick 2 pizzas?
Where?
Two pizzas, I want boxes. Want and you enjoy. There's no expiring, but you know it's holidays. Just do the things. And also, I mean, our friends at Pizza Hut, they gave us. Calm yourself down, Amanda. Shout out to Amanda for touching me. Our friends also at Pizza Hut just gave us like 2 boxes of pizzas, and they said we can just give. So whoever I'm hoping is going to get them can also share with everyone else. They're very nice pizzas. For those of you like in Tea that have never been to to Pizza Hut, I don't know, I'm mentioning food lovers all the time. Maybe we can do this like in a very cool way. I don't know how. Which primary school did I go to actually?
My alma mater too.
Really?
You went to Marketing.
Come on, brother, get the beef. Oh, I have tattoos, by the way, lots of them. Yeah. They're all like Bible verses. Hey, yo, what else? Bruh, share with everyone. Wow, I don't know, what else? What did I study? Nah, they already know these ones. How about you can ask and give?
Oh my gosh, I don't know what to ask.
No, they would know those ones. I think from the conversation.
Besides Forbes 30, under 30, what else? What other accolade does Gilmour have under his belt? That is too easy. That too easy, Gilmour.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys. Okay, what was the name of his first agency? The lady in the white top with the glasses. Yes, you stand up.
You stand up. Sounds good.
Yes.
Cool, so you can enjoy the pizza.
Guys, don't be jealous.
Huh?